Okay, this is part 2 of our video project. We are assembling a new video, and here are the steps that make the most sense for this particular project. First off, if we're in the assembly window, it's really easy to import media just by double-clicking this panel. And then you got to go locate the files that you wanted to use. And they're probably going to be something that you're going to download to your D drive. You want to go look for them there. And if we're lucky, yeah, there's my files there. I am going to import, I'll be a little selective about it. I'm going to take some audio. This is going to be a multi-camera project, so I've got some interesting files here. I got some graphics. I got video from flip cameras and from iPhones. Don't try to import your PPR or PRP files. You just want to get your media. And say open, and it'll build them all into that particular window. And as that's going on, you might see some other indications in here that it's going to try to figure out what's inside of these things. But now that it's assembled, at least the start of it, now we're going to start putting the bits and pieces in place. And we might go over to the editing panel to do that. And this is a typical workspace. You could spend most of your time in here. I'm going to do something kind of tricky with this. First of all, I'm going to organize the bins so that the things are a little bit more organized. I'm going to take all these graphic files here, and I'm going to build them into a folder just to sort of tuck them out of the way. So right about here, you can make yourself a new bin, and I'm going to call this graphics. And then I'm going to select all of these holding Shift, and I'll drag them into that graphics folder so I can tuck them up and out of the way. And what's left are just the files that I want to keep. Now, these files, these are kind of special. They were 1, 2, 3 different cameras filming the same thing with audio being recorded off of a cell phone. So to assemble these things together, I'm going to select all of them. I'm going to right mouse click them. And I'm going to go look for something called Create Multi-Camera Source Sequence. And when I do that, it's going to give me a new file it's going to create called Multicam. It's going to merge them all together into one. And I have to make some settings here. I want to make sure that I'm syncing this up by the audio tracks on each one of these things. They all should have very common audio, even if they happen and got turned on and off at different times. And I think everything else is going to be okay with this. I'm going to use automatic preset. I'm going to use camera sequence, okay. Camera 1 is the sequence settings, okay. Audio channels preset is going to be automatic, okay. I'm just going to say okay and cross my fingers here. And it's going to take its time. It's going to look through and it's going to try to synchronize all of these clips together, sort of merge them into one new track. And it also did something else. It took all of those individual clips and it put them in another bin to sort of tuck them out of the way. And instead of using anything in there, I'm going to use the clips that are in here. Now I notice the frame rate of this has maxed out at the highest frame rate of all the sources. The iPhone was shooting at 60 frames per second, so that's what this is set to right now. When we export or render this, we can choose something else. But now to see what we got, I'm just going to drag it on over here and put it in the timeline. The timeline shows us that all of this together is going to amount to about 5 minutes and 55 seconds. I can tell because I'm looking over here and I can see where the current playhead is. So there's your timeline window, there's your bins, and of course as we roll through this you can see what's coming out of the camera that's been defaulted here. Now we'd like to see the selection from each one of those cameras, and we need to find the Multicam View so we can sort of push it on up there and see a little bit more what's going on. And I believe what we want to do is we can actually make a Multicam View button to toggle it on. We've got to add it to our editor here. And we've got to find it up here. There it is right there. I recognize it. Toggle Multicam View. We can also do Shift. I believe it's Shift 0, but it could be Shift O. But I'm going to take this view and I'm going to drop it down there and say OK. And if I click that button now, I get a little bit more interesting view. I can see each of my sources and I can see the program. And now as I do work inside of this thing, I'm going to be able to select which camera is going to be toggled on at any given time. More importantly, as I play this thing, everything should be all synced up, and I hope that we're going to be defaulting the audio down here to the cell phone audio because it was the only pure audio track. I'm going to try playing it and see what we get. Oh, nothing coming through. So the next thing I guess I better do is I better set up the audio hardware because something's not quite right about it. Edit and Preferences and Audio Hardware. will show me what devices are plugged in here. And right now it's defaulting to the wrong device. So I'm going to click here, and I know that what I'm listening to right now is actually a USB Jabra headset. So I'm going to choose that. And it says can modify the mappings. Okay. I'll say okay. And that was for the default output. I'll say okay again. And now when I play this thing, I hope I hear it.
Camera 1, you good? Yeah, you're camera 1.
Yep, I'm hearing that a little bit better.
Adriana, what do you hate about technology?
What I hate about technology.
Okay, so it's kind of doing the job. I'm going to cut at this point in time, and we're going to continue with editing in the next clip.